Hello again and welcome to Elevate18. Early on in this video series we went over the components of the VSRE model, and that's vision, strategy, resources and execution. Now we've already looked at an overview of vision and strategy. Today I want to focus on stage 3, which is resources. So the purpose of the resources stage is to identify what resources will be required in order to execute the strategy that's been set. Now I've probably said this already, but the order is very important here. On the front end you have to decide where you're going and how you're going to get there, so that's vision and strategy, before you look at what resources are required. So you might say, for instance, well, we need a new sales rep or some extra machinery, and perhaps you do. You may well need those additional resources, but you won't know for sure until you've settled on your strategy. Are these resources the specific investments required or the best use of your capital to effectively execute your business strategy? And then of course at the other end, you won't be able to execute properly if you haven't allocated the resources that are required to get the job done. And that's why the order is just so critical. It's vision, then strategy, then resources, and then finally execution. So what do we mean by resources? Well, resources can broadly be separated into these 4 sections that you see up here. So that's people, that's infrastructure, we've got systems and cash. And so first up we have people. And based on the strategy or strategies that you've set, do you need more people? It could be sales or operations or finance or even a management role. But in order to know that, you may need to have a look at your org chart and your roles and responsibilities. So what excess capacity do you have in your team that you can perhaps access or redeploy? Or maybe you don't have the right people on the bus, or they're in the wrong seats. So resources isn't just about investing in new resource, it could also be making your current resources more effective. And so that's why you should be looking at what might be required for training and development, so you can build capability within your existing resources. And are there skill shortages or knowledge gaps that you need to fill? But above all, there's time. And this is perhaps the most overlooked resource there is. So do you and your team have the time available to execute the strategy? Because if you haven't allocated enough time, you haven't resourced your strategic plan, and therefore the execution will fall short of where it needs to be. So then we've got infrastructure, which is the fixed assets that are required for your business operations. So you'll be looking at machinery and motor vehicles, plant and equipment, premises, and then what investment is required in those areas to execute your strategy. Maybe you need some new plant and equipment, or perhaps a refurb of the offices. Maybe you actually need to factor in new premises to accommodate the growth. And all these decisions should very much be tied into your financial model. So will you get a decent return on investment? And then we've got systems. So do your current business systems have the resource to handle the growth and the future direction of your business, or will they be a constraint? So systems can cover any process-oriented area, whether that's your accounting system or your ERP, perhaps inventory management or credit control processes or the like. And maybe a new accounting system or CRM or perhaps an ERP is required, or investment in IT capabilities. And then finally, and most important of all, we've got profits and cash. So you need to look at the cash requirements that are needed to fund the business strategy. Will the operating cash flow be enough, or will external funding be required? And then what is the break-even point, and perhaps the cash break-even? So the financial model and the profit formula must be built to account for the strategy that's been set, and does it actually stack up? So there you have the outline of what needs attention in the resources stage. So you've determined your vision, you've set your strategy accordingly and allocated the resources. And then all that's left is execution. But that's perhaps a topic for another day, so we'll see you again next week.